rune of death was stolen, and the demigods began to fall. Starting with Godwyn the Golden.
Hello, and welcome back to the Lore Story, where we will talk about characters and the lore behind them from the most popular games. I'm Jonathan Kreitch, and today we'll be talking about Godwyn the Golden from the 2022 game Elden Ring. It should go without saying that there will be spoilers ahead, so if you want to experience the lore of the game yourself, maybe come back after to see how I interpret it. Godwyn, an early member of the Golden Order, was a powerful figure in the lands between, and was the first of the demigods to die. Born from Queen Marika and the first Elden Lord Godfrey, Godwyn was a demigod and part of the Golden lineage. In the time before the Shattering, Godwyn was a powerful and respected warrior, fighting for the Golden Order when war arrived. The war with the ancient dragons was one of the largest conflicts in lands between, and Godwyn one of its strongest fighters. It is said that the only time the walls of the royal capital Lindell fell was during this bloody conflict. Sparked by the attack of the capital by the dragon Grandsax, the war against the dragons was a challenge for the Golden Order's forces. As stated at the Sword Memorial near Rampart Side Path Site of Grace, the routing of the ancient dragons, Godwyn the Golden fought to the last, earning the friendship of Dread Fortisax. This cements Godwyn as the victor of the final battle of the war, but rather than kill his opponent, he befriended him. This led to a time of peace between the ancient dragons and the Golden Order, and the creation of the Dragon Cult in the capital, which was ruled in conflict with the beliefs of the Erd Tree. This shows just how noble Godwyn was, putting an entire war behind him to establish peace and coexist with the dragons. As stated in the intro cutscene of the game, during the events of the Shattering, on the night of the Black Knives, Godwyn was slain, not in whole, but in only the soul. Half of the hollow brand was carved into his flesh, marking him as the first one to live in death. This brought with it the curse of undeath, which caused the dead to rise from their graves, and started the spread of Deathroot as stated in its item description. A source that gives rise to those who live in death. On the night of the dire plot, the stolen rune of death enabled the death of the first demigod. Later, the rune of death spread across the lands between, through the underground roots of the great tree, sprouting in the form of Deathroot. During the events leading up to the Night of the Black Knives, part of the rune of death was stolen from Malekith the Black Blade, who had contained it within its blade following the Godskin apostasy. Using the fragment stolen, blades were forged for the Black Knife assassins so that they would have the power to kill a demigod. On the night of the Black Knives, 2 demigods were slain, and part of a plan by Lunar Princess Ranni to rid herself of the influence of the Greater Will. While Godwyn was killed by the Black Knife assassins, Ranni simultaneously slew her own flesh, carving the other half of the hollow brand and killing her body while leaving her soul intact. It is possible that this wasn't part of the plan told to the Black Knife assassins, which would explain why she needs to employ the player to help her. With his death and soul only, Godwyn's body began to change, taking on a seemingly oceanic creature-like appearance. His form can also be spread throughout the lands between, one massive manifestation located underneath Stormville Castle, resembling his whole body. This spread of Godwyn has also spread Deathblight, an illness that infects a victim and causes vine-like growths that result in death. This effect can be seen when the player dies of Deathlight buildup, with thorns erupting from the torso and a large one piercing the chest. Godwyn's influence can be seen all over the lands between. In places full of those living in death, one can find Godwyn's eyes and pull up masses of dead, taken from their proper Erd Tree burial. His image can even be found in the living. The crabs living around the walls of Lindell have a small face on their back, which strongly resembles Godwyn's. This makes sense, as those crabs are almost directly above Godwyn's corpse, and eat from the ground, which was likely tainted by Godwyn and his Deathroot. The story of Godwyn is a tragic one. He is unable to properly pass, stuck in the lands between in body but gone in soul. Perhaps we will see more of him in a DLC, but for now, he lays under the capital, slowly spreading his influence to the furthest reaches of the lands between. What did you think of Godwyn the Golden? Do you think he met a fitting end? Or do you think that there may be more that will happen with him? Let us know in the comments below. While you're here, feel free to check out the other shows on Goofing Off. And as always, I'm Jonathan Kreitch, and thank you for tuning in to the Lore Story.